everyone. SPL 15 RBY Smogcast. We're probably going to spend like about an hour talking about the SPL RBY pool, how we project the cores and the players to do, make our own little power rankings. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm Emma. I'm playing on the Bigs this year. This is my third SPL, all helping out in RBY. Fifth overall, team tour overall, and then I do a lot of RBY stuff on Smogon. And I'm joined by a bunch of my friends. We have Amaranth, Kyous, and Shiloh. If you guys want to quickly say hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm Shiloh.
Yeah, Shiloh is he's on the Wi-Fi Wolfpack with ABR. Kaz is starting for the Classiest, and then Amaranth is likely going to start for the Team Raiders. So we got 4 players, super fun. But first, I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on the RBY pool as a whole. I've only been paying attention since SPL 12, but to me, this is like by far the best pool, at least I've ever seen. Like Felix, Serpi, Troller, and ABR, I feel like could all easily be like number 1, and then having to put one of them 4 just feels so bad to me. And then even then, you have like Nails, who's the second best player in the Smogon era of RBY. Chuva, who got second in Invitational, had an 8-3 SPL 2 years ago. And then we still have like Kyous, like another RBY Invitational winner. Kaz, who's finished second twice. Like the whole pool is just absurd.
Yeah, I think this is easily one of the best, if not the best RBY pool, and probably one of the best pools just in general out of like every SPL generational pool, just because I feel there are so many good names that are also left out of this pool undrafted. And it just speaks to the strength where like 8 out of the 10 players here, you could easily make arguments for them finishing with the best record. And 2 of them just don't have enough official tour experience where they could easily have that breakout season and be the best like Chuva was 2 years ago. So it's a great pool.
Yeah, this reminds me of SPL 9, and the situation is kind of similar in a way because you have like an older generation that is still there and still fighting, like me and Troller and people like that. But then also a strong new generation also playing in the same pool, and so the result is just insanely stacked lineup of names. I mean, on paper it should be stronger than SPL 9, I think. On practice, we never know how things work out. But definitely a contender.
Yeah, you have your Italians, Germans, French, the whole squad. Even like ABR, who is not primarily an RBY player, but won Cup and Circus this year, and then like approaches the tier like a lot differently than a lot of the majors do. And then even like Troller versus how like Serpi and like the Germans play is just so differently. So a lot of different clashes of styles of RBY, and it's just like all super exciting. Especially like I don't know, I love RBY. I love watching SPL, even though I'm in it as well. So I'm super excited to like watch all these like old and new players all come together. Very exciting stuff.
I agree, yeah. I think SPL 9 has maybe hyper name, if you want to call it that way, but RBY is getting better every year, so I think that's the best pool ever. You have the 2 best German, you have APR, you have everyone. Troller is there too. It's the best pool ever, I think. Play-wise, it's the best pool ever.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Our first team we can go over is the Alpha Runers. It's like Kyous? I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. So he's French. He won RBY Invitational 3 in 2022. He didn't play this past year and hasn't played much overall. I think he made appearances in RBY World Cup and RBY Premier League, but like he shocked at least me by signing up for SPL this year. He's on the Runers. He went for I believe 7K. He is really the only person on the Runers who does dabble at RBY, so he is like formally by himself. But what are you guys' thoughts on this pick?
I've never teamed with Kyous, so I haven't seen him directly. But I know that sometimes he just shows up and wins, and then he doesn't play for a long time, and then he shows up again and he plays like he never left. And yeah, I mean, I remember when he was breaking out, he had some time when he wasn't really that good, but ever since his first like really deep invitational run and everything afterwards has been whenever he bothers to play, he's been at a top level. He also dominated RBY never used in RBYPL.
There you go. The pinnacle of competition.
Yeah, he actually played a decent amount this year. So he's in good shape. I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited, and I think for 7k this was a very good pick. He has no support in his team, but he will probably find people to practice with. Again, I don't exactly know how he works usually, but if he needs support, I'm sure that he will find it. So I think for the price, this was a very good pickup, and I expect him to do quite well despite how strong the pool is.
Yeah, like for quickly reference, there's a lot of absurd prices this year. Obviously, ABR is going to go for like close to 40k, even though he's playing RBY, but still like Troller, Serpi, Felix, all around 25. Chuva and Nails, 15, 13, and then you have like Kyous, Kaz, Amaranth, and the Grande Fire rounding out at lower prices. But yeah, I agree. For like 7k, I think it's a pretty good value pick for sure.
Yeah, no,
I think early in the draft too. Like it's 7k early in the draft. It was a very good move by the runners. I think Kyous is very good. He doesn't need to play much to be on top. He's just very busy in general. That's why he doesn't play a lot. But prep wise, play wise, he has everything. He's a bit predictable. Maybe that's his only flaw, if I should say one. But I've teamed up with him with friends. He was super busy and he still shows up. I'm not worried about him at all. And I don't think he needs support that much because he has his very own unique, like 2018 visions. He doesn't need support much. He does his things and he works, and he's gonna work for sure.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a solid pickup and one of the, I guess, new players that definitely needed to be picked up here once he signed up. Like, there were a lot of new players that are hoping to get a shot this year, and with the pool this stacked, it was just really hard to get in. And so he was definitely deserving. I think the only worry would be if he gets too busy or he just... Because it is his first official, so there is always the small chance he just is too busy, can't keep up, things like that. So Runer's not getting somebody to either help support him or just somebody to sub in. Maybe some weeks he's busier. Might be the only reason that this pick might not end up working out. And so, because they don't even have, like, looking at their roster, I don't even see anybody that could maybe even sub into RBY. Like, maybe Fakes, but, like, that's about it on that roster that really knows RBY and could play it. So that would be, I think, the only issue there. I guess Malekith as well.
Yeah, I guess Malekith, but less than ideal.
Yeah, I think that's the only issue I see with this pick, but otherwise it's a really solid pickup.
I think if he signed up, he's not going to be busy. If he would have been busy, he would not have bothered. He's this kind of guy that only commit if he's sure, like 100% he's gonna be there. And he doesn't do things halfway. Is that what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, he hasn't really, like he said no to Invitational last year, despite being the defending champion. But I guess, like, now that he's signed up, like, he must really be good to go. And, like, for reference, in his run 2 years ago, he beat Star, Hayburner, Marco ASD, M Dragon, and then Kaz twice in a row. So it was, like, a pretty absurd run. So, and I guess, like, if he has signed up, it means he's, like, good to commit like he did in Invitational. So I'm super excited, and I'm really glad he got picked. Propaganda and the commencement thread paid off at least somewhat. So where do you guys? What tier would you put the Ruiners in RBY? 1, 2, or 3?
I mean, he's clearly tier 2, no? Like, he's not one of the best, but he's definitely very solid.
It's tier 2 because no experience.
Yeah, I think tier 1's just too stacked with players that have just played and dominated in SPL before. So putting him any higher was probably just too early at this point.
Alright, we'll drop him in tier 2 for now. Our next team is the Circus Maximus Tigers. Drafted Green on Fire for 3k. They have M Dragon on the roster. I took a lot of liberties when making the RBY player cores, so I'm not sure how much M Dragon will be involved. But if he needs to play RBY, I'm sure he'll do fine. And they have Genesis 7 as their manager to help support. This is Green on Fire's first SPL. In 2022 he won RBY Majors and RBY Circuit, and then I believe he did well in this year's RBY Premier League. What are your guys' thoughts on the Tigers?
I
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no,
You. Okay, we'll go ahead. Let's talk about the player, not the person first. This guy doesn't need support too. Like he saved all the replay from all the years.
I
Such a
did see
hot
that.
prepper.
I did see that. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that's insane. When the replay server
In my
went down,
opinion,
he just
he carried Dugong so hard during RBYPL, like with their opening line and everything. He's gonna be there and he's gonna be here to show up. Play-wise, he deserves to be there. Sure, there's better name, more experienced name at this stage, but yeah, I think he's gonna do well. Neutral at worst. Like his prep is too good, and some games are won in the builders, so yeah, he's gonna know what he's gonna do, and he doesn't take much risks too. Similar to Kyous, he's a very methodical player, and that's kind of what you want in this setting. So I understand Genesis 7 picking him over like Septros and Narwhal, because that was the big debate, but yeah, unfortunately, as someone said, like there was like 13 there was more than 10 name you could argue they had a spot in this SPL. So
Okay. Yeah, what Kat says is fair, and the thing with Green on Fire is that he has never been tested at a higher level, because he plays his circuit and he plays his RBYPL, but he was never in an invitational and he was never in an SPL. And so this is the first time people who are really, really good will prep really, really hard against him. And this is an issue for him, and it is an issue for Kyous also a little bit. But for anyone who is new to SPL, if they play a little bit too safe, too predictable, they can always be exposed to people really like stepping up with the preparation, really bringing some random nonsense deck, really busting out like the Moltres or whatever, and you need to be ready for everything, and you need to be ready for everything done at the level of Troller or Serpi or whoever else. And it will be interesting to see if he can withstand that level of play and that level of pressure. Because winning circuit, of course, is not easy. You kind of deserve a spot if you win circuit. But it's also not evidence that you will be great in SPL automatically, because the pressure is a lot. And for example, I drafted Serpi that right after he won circuit. It was SPL 12. He won the circuit before that. I got him for 3k, and it was Serpi only went like 5-4 or 4-5 or something like that for 3k, which is still good. And this was Serpi, who went on to become one of the greatest players. So yeah, 5-4, I think.
Yeah,
you're showing it now. And so if Serpi on his first year does 5-4, you never know how other players will do on their first year. So that's my worry with this pick. I think picks like Narwhal or Septros, they have a bit of an advantage in that they have been around for a longer time. But it's understandable. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I personally would have ranked him a bit below someone who should start this SPL, and I mean that in the way of like this pool is like absurdly stacked. So in like, I put him initially in like the Chubb, Nicole, C-Town tier, who are players who are pretty good and are like rising stars, and like probably deserved a chance if it weren't for like everyone and their mother wanting to play RBY this SPL. So I think he is definitely good. And then, like, hearing what people say, I mean, like, I saw the screenshot of all the replays he had, and then how he put a lot of effort into, like, RBY Premier League. It always, like, bodes well, at least for me. Like, I'm obviously really big on, like, preparation, and I like seeing when other people also try hard. But, like, he is probably someone I wouldn't have drafted myself to start, but I do think he is, like, a reasonable pick, for sure, that should be able to stand his own.
Yeah, I'll take a bit of a different approach. I think in this pool somebody is bound to do badly, just because I don't think everyone's going to end 4-5-5-4. There's definitely going to be people on top and people at the bottom. And just based on experience, I think Green and Fire is the most likely candidate to just not have a great tournament. Because while, yeah, they do have the replays, they've shown they could prep and everything, so can everybody else in this pool. This pool is stacked, and there's not going to be much of a prep advantage because replays are back at this point. So everyone who is in this pool is going to be prepping for Green on Fire just as much as they're prepping for everybody else. And everybody's going to have the good lines. Everyone's going to be basically, it's the top of the game here in this pool, and someone's bound to do badly. And for their first time, I'd probably, if I had to put money on it, it would be Green of Fire. That's not saying they will do badly, but just somebody is pretty much bound to do badly here, and Green on Fire is the most candidate for that in my eyes, just because the lack of experience in these in SPL and just official tournaments in general. The Invitational run was pretty impressive, but that was also 2 years ago at this point, right? Or year before.
Yeah, he won in 2022.
So I think just because somebody's bound to do badly, I'd have to say it's Green on Fire in this pool. And support-wise, Genesis 7 is pretty good support from the manager slot, so that's going to be helpful there. But just like Green on Fire, Genesis 7 hasn't been as active as maybe some of the other players here, though. So there's just that question on how quickly can they get up to speed and be at SPL level, right? So will that take 1 week, 2 weeks? But it could take a few weeks. So up till that point, it definitely is the weakest slot in this pool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I would rank.
I understand the fact that prep-wise, his edge is not as important as his lesser skilled pool, but I don't think he's gonna feel the pressure at all. That's the big things over like Narwhal and Septros that could have felt the pressure even though they had a year in because they had to redeem themselves in a way.
And yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I don't think Green of Fire is like an unreasonable pick here at all. I think any player in this slot from the remaining pool I'd also have the same criticisms about, whether that's Narwhal, Septros. Somebody's bound to do badly is all, and I think it's just because it's not one of the other 9 players, basically, it's bound to be this slot, right? So that's just my kind of reasoning there. And they could easily have a great tournament and prove me wrong, but just now, they're the ones with the smallest resume.
It's true that if you want a world card, you don't take Green Fire because he's more that consistency guy rather than that guy that could cheese, I don't know, beat someone with weird strategies. It's just a Zamraidon user, so that's predictable as well. Maybe C-Town was a better stance if you aim to steal wins. But we will see. It's hard to say, honestly.
Yeah, it's tough. So what tier do we think we're putting Green on Fire in?
Oh, 3.
Yeah, I think just because somebody has to be in tier 3, and I think it is just by virtue of Green of Fire since they have the smallest resume on this list.
I'd also agree with 3, personally.
Yeah, it's I tier 3. Gotta prove himself, basically.
Yeah.
Our next team is Next team is Congregation of the Classiest with Kyous himself starting, who went for a really cheap 4K, and we'll also have Bihi on his team and Isa. Kaz has finished second in RB Invitational twice now in the first and third editions. Did well in the circuit this year. Finished top 4 before bowing out to Serpi in a best of 5. Played an invitational this year as well and has pulled up some crazy strategies over these last 2 years, like Venusaur and a bunch of other things, dropping a lot of like Tauros, Snorlax, Chansey cores, and really innovating and pushing a lot of metagame development. But I'm personally extremely excited for Kaz to play at SPL, especially after he deleted and then re-signed up. Luthier actually messaged me before the draft about Kaz, and I said word for word, he's going to probably bring up Venusaur or Sandslash, and you need to be mentally prepared for it. And he's like, oh boy, I can't wait. So, how are we feeling about the Classiest this year?
I feel like the Classiest is really strong. I think Kaz being 4K is probably the steal of this RBY pool, just because Kyous was 7K and then pretty much everybody else was over 10K, and so you're getting a great player who has the SPL experience for 4K. It's just hard to pass up on, and he also has some pretty solid support in Vihi and Issa, so it's really just a very strong core. And Kaz himself just talked about how there's that aspect of using those non-conventional picks, and I think Kaz has been the champion of that in SPL and tours in the past, where he isn't afraid to pull out some random shit at times. So just in terms of upside, there's just very high upside with this slot, right? And I think it's definitely the steal here, yeah.
Yeah. With Kaz personally, he's always been a player who I think understands the game in a different way than me, and in a deeper way than me in some ways. So I've always had a lot of respect for that. I think, if I remember correctly, I think Kaz was my opponent in the first invitational in the grand final.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I always had a special admiration for him. Yeah, I had to beat him twice. I think I got really lucky. Yeah, no, because I mean the things he does with like Venusaur and with like dropping Tauros and all of that stuff, like it wouldn't even come to my mind. And I think I'm a pretty creative player, but the way that he comes up with different ideas is just I could never come up with the things that he comes up with. And so I respect that a lot, and I think that is a very important tool to have in SPL, because you need to really be able to abuse any potential weakness in any of your opponents. Because all of these players are good, but they do all have weaknesses, and it's just a matter of finding exactly the right way to abuse it. And if Kaz manages to find those key ideas, I think he will do really well.
Yeah, I just looked up Cat. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Emma.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, like, after like talking with Kaz, like it's just like absurd. I think of like how deeply he understands the game, as well as of course like a lot of other players. But it just like blows my mind. Like I don't know, at least to me, like he understands RBY on like just another level, at least compared to me. And he's got like so much experience. Like for reference, like he went 6-3 at SPL 10. Like I wasn't even a part of the RBY community until like SPL 12. So the dude's been around like a while too, prior SPL experience. I've done well in Invitational and everything, so I'm like super excited, like beyond from the play.
Yeah, no, Kaz is definitely positive all-time SPL. The only knock is hasn't played SPL since 2020, but in the past year he's pretty much kept up with everything and been involved in pretty much everything high level, so it's hard to say there's a knock there. The only worry with the slot would be if he gets a bit too lost in the sauce a bit versus these higher level opponents, because it can sometimes not work out. So that would be,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but Kaz can also be really solid when he needs to. So
Yeah, no,
it's not like he's completely like he's not crazy Darkivian level. Like it's just sometimes he will beat you with Venusaur and sometimes he will beat you with normal Pokemon. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just as long as those Venusaurs stay to a minimum, he'll probably be a top tier, right?
Yeah, maybe he does it a bit too much sometimes, but no, he's good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a solid slot, and for the price, you really can't get much better than that. So.
Yeah, for 4K, this is really solid, definitely.
Yeah, 4K.
Well, that was a lot of praise, but yeah, I think I'm more shaky because like it's not about understanding the whole game. It's about who clicks the best at the moment and understanding the better strategy. In fact, like as I said, some game I won or lost in the builder, and yeah.
Yeah, that's true too as well.
It's like it's more important to understand Chansey lacks Tauros deeply than understanding Venusaur and Sunslash and how they interact with the metagame, because even if you do well, if you play them well, they are just inferior strategies and play wise sometimes I don't have that confidence, and it's really important for this strategy to shine. So we will see. I'm here for the show, so.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So what tier are we putting Classiest in?
I'd probably put him top of tier 2, but still tier 2, just
tier 2, yes.
Yeah, the top 4 guys.
I'd agree.
Spoilers.
Alright, I'll put him above other Frenchmen.
I think, yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if Kyous ends up with a better score because they're both very high ceiling players, but
Exactly.
yeah, I think it makes
Kyous
sense
is
to
better
rank
than
him
me.
a bit higher.
I'd agree.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a
I think
chance for
Kyous
Cat
is
to end
better
up
than
as
me. I will put myself maybe bottom tier 2, high tier 3, but yeah, I think Kyous is better, like more consistent, understand the better strategy, and even the long run of the game probably more deeply than me. It's the new Pisune for me. Like he has patience, he understands the game very well.
Yeah.
And I tend to stress things out, and he doesn't. That's why he won Invitational versus me. That's because he had the longer hole. I wanted to break fast, and it didn't work, and he just outclassed me without even trying much. He didn't have much to do. So yeah, but we will see.
Yeah, I'm just excited. Oh, it's like my Christmas, literally. Next up we have the Cryoticals, whatever. With Chuva and Vileman. Chuva got his start in SPL 2 years ago. Went for 3K. Was mostly known as like a ladder player, like tour player, but like lit the scene on fire. Went 8-3, which is obviously just like absurdly good. I think like going into Invitational 3, I think Chuva, at least to me, was maybe one of like the most hyped players on the planet after his SPL run. Unfortunately, couldn't replicate the magic 2 years ago, but he came back strong this past Invitational, finished second only to Felix. And then he did struggle last SPL as well. He went like 4-5 after his start, but bounced back 4-6. But bounced back really strong Invitational, and is of course like an absurdly dominant player. Especially like his preparation. Like I'm a very big fan of Chuva. He gave Nails, Amaranth, and I kind of a beating last SPL. But what are we feeling about Chuva this year?
Yeah, I think last year was kind of just a down year for Chuva and SPL. Something probably just wasn't clicking. He started the season off hot, if I'm remembering correctly, and kind of just after mids, he just had a bit of a skid, ending with a pretty ungreat playoff performance, if I'm remembering correctly. But since then, he still made finals of Invitational, and he's still being one of the top tier players. So there's no question on whether or not he deserves this slot. And I think it's another just solid pickup from the Prios. And while it's probably not at the tier of like the Germans or Troller or ABR, he's still clearly tier 2 and clearly a very solid player.
Yeah, and he went for like 10K below those guys as well, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Chuva, for me, I have a bit of a hot take on Chuva. My hot take is that I haven't seen him play as well as he did in his first SPL ever since. He has had strong tournaments and definitely strong games, but the consistency that he had in his first SPL, I have not really seen it after that, personally. And that could be any number of reasons. I know for myself, I am pretty similar in that my first SPL, maybe first two, I was super motivated. I was working super hard. After that, my work ethic slowed down a bit, and my results eventually dropped off a bit as well. So I don't know if that's the same thing that's happening with Shuva, but for me, it is a danger, and we'll see. We'll see if it's affecting him or if my read is completely wrong.
Where to start? I think it's one of the best player ever. It's like I understand what Amaranth mean with the whole prep and things because he preps so much. He tries to gather so much information, so much. He wants so much control over the game, but it's RBY, so it's almost overthinking at this point. But nah, it's one of the best pilot ever in my opinion. It's his worst enemy really, but I think he really learned a lot about himself and the drawback of prep this year. I think he's gonna do well. I think he's gonna do well. Like just trust himself and yeah.
Yeah, he had a really strong invitational as well. He eradicated some demons, beat Alice, McMegan, Mako, lost to Laro, then beat Excal, Sep, beat Laro in the rematch before losing to Felix in grand finals. But he had a crazy good run. Definitely got back on track. Second place finish, 6-2 invitationals. Obviously, really really good. I guess we'll see if he can reach the heights of an 8-3 SPL debut, which is obviously extremely challenging. Chuva also, from what I've heard, might be pretty busy, especially the first half of the tour, which might limit his ability to fully prep and all. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm also generally pretty busy during SPL, but the hype always gets me doing things at 9 p.m. anyway. So we'll see if he's able to put in his full effort or not anyway. But at the end of the day, I rate Chuva really highly in both his preparation and play. So I'm really excited that he's back for another go around.
Yeah, no, Chuva definitely very solid, and he also does. I think he has a lot of outside prep help as well. I think if Spies is around, he helps him, and he just has a lot of testing partners. So if he has the time, he'll still put in the effort. And side note, SPL now has a cash prize, $100 to every player on the winning team.
Oh shit! We're back.
All
time concerns are now. Yeah, that's crazy. Holy shit! All time concerns are now just thrown out of the way. $100 goes crazy. Oh my god.
I think the fact that he's busy is gonna be good for him. He needs this balance. He doesn't want to sit all day on the sofa thinking about Mon. It's not healthy for him. So I think the fact that he's more busy than usual is gonna do great for him, especially because he know all these players. He know Goff more than Green on Fire, more than everyone else. I think he's gonna have a great season.
Yeah,
I hope for him.
Yeah, I agree. Talking to Chuva, he definitely understands how a lot of different players operate really well, which is really interesting to me. So I'm super excited. Also has Vileman to help out if he is pretty busy in the first half of the tour. But it's Chuva. I don't know. Another guy. I think Chuva is ranked first or second or third last SPL, and he's probably gonna end up ranked fourth, fifth, or sixth. Just speaks to how absurd this SPL pool really is. So where do we think we can put Chuva in on our rankings?
Top of tier 2, I think, is the right place for me.
Yeah.
Alright, we'll put him above Kaz, top of tier 2. Our next team, the Tyrants, which has everyone's goat, Heroic Troller. Solon's also on the team to offer some support, but I'm sure everyone knows who Troller is at this point, the greatest RBY OU player of all time. Best player in the Smogon era. Absurd SPL records, 8-3, 7-3, 6-1, 10-3, 7-4. It's Troller, one of the most dominant players in any tier in the history of Pokemon. My goat, I don't know, everyone knows he's Troller. Holy man, what do we think?
Yeah, no, this is a clear rank 1 for me. Troller's just dominated every single time he's played SPL. A plus 42, I think, win rate or game difference. What's his differential?
He's plus 24 in sets.
Okay.
72%.
Yeah, but either way, that's insanely crazy for a tier like RBY, especially where for a while people thought it wasn't possible to be as consistent as he has been, where he's shown basically no signs of slowing down. He has taken a year break pretty much from all RBY tours before this, but he's done that pretty much, I think, the last 2 SPLs as well, where he's barely played during the year and then just shows up for SPL and dominates again. So I think there's basically no question as to... I mean, there can be question to who the top player is, especially because there's quite a few other players here who have had an impressive resume over the last year or two. But Troller just, over the past, since he basically stepped into the pool, has been the player to beat and the player at the top. So
yeah, I think Troller. I'm pretty sure Troller has been ranked 1 the last 5 seasons in SPL.
And he's hasn't he also had the top 3 record all 5 of those seasons?
Yeah,
as well, which is
he's absurd,
unheard of, pretty much. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you can say whatever you want that he doesn't play for a full year and that I don't know. Now it's the 5th or the 6th year at some point. When you don't practice all that much during the full year, at some point your skill starts to lower. But I mean, he just keeps coming back and winning the same amount every time. So that's all nonsense. You have to rank him first. Like, it doesn't matter the opponents. It doesn't matter the amount of practice. When it's SPL season, Troller is taking the game seriously, and when Troller is taking the game seriously, he does not lose very much. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, I think like Troller is like the most dominant Pokemon player I've ever seen in one singular tier. Like, it's just absurd. I watch his games and just every time he loses it like somehow baffles me. Like, it's up there with like Emilio and like all the doubles tiers. Like, just two of like the most absurdly dominant Pokemon players on the planet. Like, I don't even know like what to say that I haven't said about Troller before. Like, he's Troller. He's him.
Yeah, it's the goat, man. He has this aura, like you play Troller, so instantly the pressure gets up. That's surely a thing. And I haven't seen him play much because I was off for 2 years, so I don't really know what to say play-wise. But man, the stats speaks for themselves. Like, and he has so much experience in SPL settings. Like, it's yeah, there's no pressure at all at this point. Yeah, so much season, such a great record. We will see, because I feel like the edge he has in this chances Snorlax Tauros interactions is less bigger, and I mean people have catched up by watching Troller, so
yeah. I think something that is. Sorry, you need to finish. Okay. Something that is important to stress is that Troller, at the start of last year, at the start of 2023, he pretty much stopped using self-destruct as a fourth move on Reflex Snorlax, and he stopped using Ice Beam as a fourth move on Reflex Snorlax. He was just using Earthquake or Hyper Beam. And you fast forward like 6 months maybe, and now everyone is doing that. If you look at most replays, almost everybody is like very little Ice Locks, very little Boom Locks. Some people still like them, but they are the exception, I would say, right now. And I think that's just a testament to his ability to just find a vulnerability in the state of the metagame and exploit it and just be one step ahead in terms of just overall understanding. Like, his skill is really encompassing everything. Like, you say that he is maybe a bit people maybe have caught up to him on the Snorlax Tauros Trance interactions, but I don't know if I agree, because every time you play against Troller, he finds ways to get Tauros on the field on like turn 3 for free for no reason. Like, it's unbelievable the way he pressures you from the start.
He basically pioneered Tauros Breaker. Like, a lot of players keep their Tauros safe and fresh, and you understand that Tauros Wincon is so present in people's mind that is gonna use it to more earlier on, and that's true, especially in order to break lags, and then his chances just have a great time, and no one realized before very recently, I think. So that's what I meant when his edge was lot. He was doing something no one was understanding, basically.
Yeah, but every year he finds a new thing that no one understands. Like, it's every time.
It's true.
Yeah, it's just absurd.
I've learned a lot by watching this guy.
Oh yeah, like I remember last year, like when I was watching a lot of his games in preparation, I was quite literally just like blown away by how good this dude was playing RBY. It's just crazy. Like, I could sit here forever and just compliment Troller, but he is like the GOAT to me, greatest player of all time. I'm gonna throw him in tier 1, unless anybody else has anything else they want to add.
Yeah, no, I think he's gonna end at the top. He's top of tier 1 for me.
Yep, me too. He's Troller.
It will be disrespectful to not put him once after all this year. So yeah.
Until he shows otherwise, he's top of tier 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Ever Grande Bigs with Nails, Lara Axel, and myself. Nails is to be like the second best player in the Smogon era of RBY. He had 3 straight SPLs of 7-2, 6-3, and then 7-3, but it's definitely crashed back down to earth, I'd say, over the last 2 SPLs. Just 10-10 over SPL 13 and 14. But he has nails. I'm sure everybody knows about him. Axel got third in this RBY Invitational after fighting his way through play-ins, which is extremely impressive. He even beat Nails. He beat Nails, ABR, and Chuva before drawing out to Felix and Chuva. So Laro's really good and has already expressed like a ton of interest in helping Nails prepare this year. And then I'm also there. I played with Nails last year and helped him out. I'm excited to be back. But how are we feeling about the Bigs?
Yeah, no, Nails is pretty much over the past few years has been the face of consistency in terms of record in both RBY and doubles, where he's pretty much gone like positive or better in pretty much every tour he's played, SCL and SPL. So when it comes to consistency, Nails is definitely pretty much the king of that right now. Though he has, like you said, had a bit of a slump with 10-10 over the past 2 years, and his SCL this year wasn't as dominant as it was last year, but that was bound to happen at some point. He's still at the top of the main question with him is, right, how much time is he going to be able to put in, and how much is he able to compete still with the top dogs? As the past 2 years, he's shown he can go about even, but this year's pool is just a lot stronger, right? So is he still able to keep up? And there are less BGC events I think he's attending this year around SPL time, so hopefully more of his focus can go to this. But he also does have great support. I had Leroxel in SCL, and I told every SPL manager who PM'd me he is a top-tier pickup and should be number one pretty much whatever slot you want to put him in. And so I'm glad he went for a pretty high price, and he's great support in RBY, and if he had to start, he would also do amazing. There's no doubt about that. And Emma, in terms of RBY support, is pretty much top in terms of just a pure support slot compared to the rest of the pool, because I don't think there's one too many other of those slots, and two, you really are just really good with just helping prep and find teams. And with somebody like Nails, who probably just focuses more on his play, that's invaluable for that. So
I think Nails, especially for the price, I mean, I expect from Nails more or less what we did last year with Classiest. It was me plus Nails plus Emma. And, I mean, he had a solid year, you know, there were some losses, there were a lot of wins. There was, I mean, like you said, the stats, like, over the last couple of years is average. And, you know, when you show what 12.5k for average, maybe that doesn't look so good. But then you see that how many more people? That's 5 or 6 people costed even more than him. So if you spend less than a lot of teams and probably still get an even record, I think you're going to be okay. And I think the Bigs are going to be happy with Nels's performance. It might be like, you know, in a pool this strong, anyone could get a bit unlucky and finish 3-6 or 2-7. That can just happen when you're playing such strong opponents every week. But I think just as easily Nails could end with some luck 6-3 or 7-2. So it's very reasonable pickup for that price. He's really, really good.
I agree. It's one of the best pilot. Like, he understands his teams like no one else, and you have so much experience. Like it's Troller, but maybe without the hard work that goes behind. Like, it's more load and play, like, the whole time. I haven't keep up much with current Nails, so it's hard to tell for me. I'm really excited to see what he's up to, and yeah, he's so hyped by SPL. I think he's gonna show up and do well for sure. It's maybe my question mark is mainly in the builder. Like, can he find something else? Is just as comfortable as his favorite teams? That's the question mark to me, pretty much. But I don't doubt these piloting skills at all, for sure. If you win so much with the same team over and over, it means something for sure.
Yeah, last year, like last year, like Amaranth mentioned, it was primarily me and him doing a very strong majority of Nails' prep, and then he would just click the buttons. But his like button clicking ability, like, was just really, really good last year. Like, especially at the end, some like the early best of threes he had against like Troller, Serpi, and Felix. Like, the way he navigated those like complex end games is just like absurdly impressive to me. I'm hoping this year he, like, fingers crossed, like, we should be able to get him more involved. Last year he had 3 or 4 VGC events, and one was in Australia. This year there's only 2, and one of them is week 1, and we have the double week to prepare to like help with that. His computer also broke last year, which kind of sucked. So fingers crossed it doesn't break again. And then I'm hoping at least I've basically wrapped up all my like core requirements to graduate in university. So I should have a lot more free time as well to help out nails. And then I'm hoping we're able to like learn a lot from last year's stint, because we like started off really strong and then kind of eventually just we finished weekly, unfortunately. But I'm excited to pair with nails again. And like I still think his button clicking is really good. Obviously, like over the last 2 years, he's needed to adapt his playstyle. So I guess we'll just see like how well he's able to do that this year.
Yeah, I think Nails uses his timer way better than many other player, and that's the big difference. Why he's so you see all the pass, all the outcomes, and that's his major strengths. I think he doesn't need to have this builder edge that much, probably.
Oh yeah, Nails.
He's just gonna use what he has better.
Yeah, Nails hits 5 seconds regularly, and it like literally gives me a stroke while watching. Like I'm just like praying to God he does not time out, or else I might lose my mind. But if nobody else has anything, where are we putting Nails this in this PR?
For me, he is even bottom of 1, but maybe he should be top of 2. I don't know.
I'd probably myself I would put Kaz over Chuva and then put him between the two, but probably just below Kaz in tier 2, maybe for me.
I will put him between Shuva and me, tier 2.
Okay, between Shuva and Kaz then seems fair.
Alright, we'll put him there for now. It's also like it just really speaks to how good this pool is. That Nails like is likely gonna get ranked like 5th or 6th this SPL, and I would say like that is like pretty fair for how he's performed over the last 2 years. But like Nails at like 6th in the PR, like a deserving 6 is just absurd, given how good like we know he is. It's like even Chuva 5, Kaz 7 maybe, like it's crazy.
Tier 2 is gonna be you can argue for whatever order in tier 2. I think it depends on what you value. Like if you value experience and everything, you probably put Nails above Shuva. But I have this Shuva bias, so yeah. I think Shuva understands the games more widely. Like Nails understands his teams like no one else, but Shuva has this overhaul on the game that I don't think Nails has. Like Nails needs his comfort zone more than Shuva. That's what makes the difference for me. But I could be wrong, honestly.
No, that makes sense, I think, and especially the part about everything in tier 2 being about what you value. That definitely makes sense. Because those are players with different strengths and different ways things could go either really well or really bad, or for each of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, very exciting.
Like if you value mentality, Nails has probably a better dog than Shuva. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, he wants to win in SPL. Like it's a thing. He wants to be good in this tournament from this team, and Shuva is more here to play the game. So that's a different approach.
Yeah.
Like especially in the end games, Nails really fights in those end games. Like I think we all remember the infamous Almost Star game where I think no one's but Nails wins that. Like surely he got a bit of help from the game, and that's not to be dismissed. But still, he fights in those end games. It's crazy.
Yeah, just like Nails' like Pokemon knowledge in general has always really impressed me. Like he's one of like my better friends, and we like play like doubles together as well. And just seeing how he approaches both like doubles and RBY, and like getting to speak with him last year, like some of the conversations like he and Amaranth would have, and I was just like blown away by how they like understand the game. So like I'm really excited. Of course, like I have a lot of faith in Nails, but I think like the middle of tier 2 is a pretty fair ranking. And like it's just like it's so exciting. Like everybody's so good. It's like crazy. But we'll move on to the scooters, who have Felix, and then Hayburner as well. Felix started last SPL, his first in RBY, went 6-3, and then won RBY Invitational this past year. The previous year, he had also like dominated the entirety of circuit, like won a seasonal. He's also done really well in officials and other tiers, specifically like SSOU. He had like an 8 in 1 year. But Felix was just absurd this past year at RBY. 6-3 SPL Invitational winner. Like, he's cracked. So what are we thinking about Felix the Scooters?
Hard to say. I haven't played Felix yet in a tournament settings. Probably faced him on the ladder, but that's very different. It's very hard to say for me. I'm really high on the guy because not only because he won a Invitational, but I feel like he's one of the, like, you have chances, not like Storos, but then you have Stormy Executor, and I think he understands the secondary piece very well, and how they interact with the big tree, and how the value amongst pieces change. So yeah, for me, it's very good.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to play him. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things for Felix is that his opinion on Alakazam is very unusual. He has very, very little Alakazam. He basically never loads Alakazam in the back, I think, and very rarely in the lead. And that makes him very unique because, I mean, you could say it's a weakness, but if he's winning Invitational, clearly it's not that easy of a weakness to abuse. So we'll see if people find out some way to beat this approach that he has of just not using Alakazam pretty much at all, or if maybe he's just right and maybe more people will start to copy him. I know Troller is also not that high on Alakazam in general. So we'll see how things end up. Maybe I don't know. Like I think this could be one of the major ways in which the SPL metagame shifts. It's just around how much Alakazam do we see. Is Felix right, or are there counters that will be found to stop him? And I think in that way he's probably the single most interesting player in terms of how he represents the state of the metagame right now. So that's very interesting for me. And then, of course, as a player, like Kat said, he's very, very fascinating. I haven't played him much either, so I can't speak too much. But clearly, just from the results, he is phenomenal. And also from having watched him even in other tiers, because he used to be a top player in SS before transitioning to RBY. So, yeah, obviously great.
Yeah, I especially like, I really like the way he and like Serpi and Chuva and kind of like the really newer elite players approach the game is really interesting. Like their heavy reliance on like winning the sleep war and like applying pressure on like paralyzed mons trying to click recover is all really fascinating. So I'm like super excited. Like Felix is absolutely started the game, and something like he really sticks to his guns. Like you said, like he kind of like rotates through the same teams. Doesn't really feel the need to get out because I'm with a scalp. But, like it doesn't matter because he just wins anyway. Like people know what's coming, but Felix just like he just keeps winning regardless, which is really cool. Like I watched a lot of Felix games last year, and he's really really good. And like obviously like one invitational. His run was pretty. Beat Clark, Marco ASD, Hitmonlee, XCal, Laraxel, and then Chuva to win the whole thing. Like I'm extremely excited. Like this is someone who could very easily be ranked number 1 in the pool, and he probably won't. And it's like it's like that just speaks to how good this pool is, and also how good Felix is.
Yeah, no, I'm insanely high on Felix as well. Ever since I teamed with him in SCL1 when I drafted him, just the way he prepares, the way he plays, just I do think he could easily be ranked 1 and even over Troller, but Troller, like we said, just earned that rank 1 spot, and personally for me, Felix is a clear number 2 personally, and I just think he's insanely strong with the way he approaches the game, the way he preps, the way he plays. There's just very little downside to him, and I think he'll show it again, and even in this stacked pool, I think he's just a clear hand above most players, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like he has everything right. You don't see much weaknesses. A big point for me is like Amaranth says about the Alakazam thing, and yeah, Alakazam is something you bring, in my opinion, versus probably things that are worse than you, because you need to be ahead to win with Alakazam. It's not really a mon that do comebacks or or you can rely on, because it needs a bit of luck, both offensively and defensively. And just the fact that he doesn't trust Alakazam much shows that he respects his opponent and he plays a lot. Like, and yeah, he's always gonna use Executor over it, and I think it shows his understanding of the better strategy and what tools you want in said team for covering every matchup, minimizing your weaknesses, and so on. It's Simmer Troller first, I think. He's gonna spam religiously the big five, like the three normals, Sarmi and Executor, and he's gonna manage to play in a way that make him win. So yeah, it's a very great player.
Yeah, sticks to his guns and just like wins anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. He's Felix. I'm pretty confident in putting him obviously in tier 1, and then I'd put him below Troller. Because it's Troller. But like, he's still like Felix is just absurdly good at the game, and like, if Troller ever decides to retire, like, Felix could easily like be ranked number 1. But obviously, absurdly good player.
He still has more to prove than Troller. Like, Troller 5 SPL or 6, I don't know. So yeah, it made sense to rank him too. For sure.
And then moving on, we have the other German in the pool, Serpi, with TDK, Mako, and Alice also on the roster. Serpi's been a mainstream in SPL these last few years. Like Amaranth said, originally drafted him in SPL 12, went 5-4 there, and then 5-4 in SPL 13. And then I remember asking, like before last SPL, like, is this finally Serpi's year? Is he gonna break out? And like, he sure obviously did. He went 8-3, beat Chuva and Troller in the playoffs, and even prevented the Sharks from picking RBY in finals tiebreaker last year after beating Troller. Was the year before in 2022 he dominated the circuit as well. He had a bit of a disappointing invitational, I'd say. Like, going into invitational, like, I consider Serpi the strongest player in the pool and the favorite to win. Unfortunately, didn't do too well, but like, he's Serpi regardless. I'm really excited to watch him play. Of course, he's really, really good. He's done really well last year. How are we feeling about Serpi?
Yeah, I mean, Serpi just has the resume from the past few years that very few players have, and he's shown he can be insanely consistent with. He went undefeated in RBY World Cup, right? And
oh yeah, like,
he just had the SPL. Yeah,
he's 29-8 in RBY Premier League and RBY World Cup. 7-0 in RBY World Cup. Absurd.
Obviously, the competition's a little step down from SPL in a lot of those tours, but it just shows his consistency and his knowledge of the tier, where it's still a tough tier to be consistent in, even in all these team tours, just due to the nature of the tier. So he's just shown that he has that understanding, he knows what he likes, he knows what he's good at, and he just wins with it. So, yeah.
Yep. Serpi is, I would say definitely is has evolved into one of the more consistently high-level players. I have the SPL 12 experience where it was his first big tournament. So I have that experience. For me, I will always remember it because I could tell that as soon as I started, working with him on very specific like preparation and all of that, game reviews, I could already see that I had found someone really special. And I remember there was one game in particular in SPL 12. I don't remember the opponent, where Serpi very early on, the enemy had revealed basically all his team, and Serpi had a cloister, and he was in a position where if he played a certain way with his cloister, like doubling it on certain turns, he could force a sequence where the cloister would just slowly start clumping everything down and eventually break. And he didn't see this sequence in game. And I explained it to him, and I told him, this is, you have to consider a lot of things, but you need to be able to see this sequence. And I remember this very distinctly because he picked it up really quick. Like, he immediately knew what I was talking about. Once I pointed it out to him, he already saw it. So he has very strong intuition for the game. He has very instinctive understanding of things. Maybe he will not see all the sequences himself in the moment, but he is someone who reviews things very thoroughly, and he's someone who, once you point out the sequence to him, he learns it and he never forgets about it. And that's how he has developed into someone who went 8-3 in SPL, because he has enough experience now. He has so much just information on how to play everything, and I think he has really strong both intuition and memory, almost like chess grandmasters like type of just knowledge of what to do, and yeah, he's really great. That's it for my perspective on him. That's how I see him.
Yeah, for sure. Like the Germans are very good at this game, and the fact that they help each other to improve at the game, it just add the cherry on top. For me, like Felix is only flaw, quote unquote, is like he plays a lot. That means there are a lot of information about him, about his teams, and yeah, he tweaks some move here and there, but it doesn't change much things, and that could hurt him, I think. Like if you compare to Felix, Troller, and ABR, who doesn't have much data on their RBY, that could be harmful for him, especially in such prep heavy settings. But he's gonna do well for sure. Like play wise, he's gonna do well for sure. Maybe he reacts a bit too late sometime when things get dire for him, but it depends. Like he plays so much, it's hard to say. Like obviously when you play a lot, you're gonna have better than other games where it just wasn't a day. So yeah, it's a very great player for sure. But more, I think Troller and Felix are above him, because sure, Felix wins a lot everywhere else, but Felix and Troller aren't there, so here's that.
Yeah, I really like watching Serpi play. I think he does something like he rolls the dice and is willing to do it if it means getting a big advantage, and the way he approaches RBY, and the German way of RBY is really strong. I think this is a pretty clear tier 1 to me. Either above or below Felix. I see them, obviously, they're both German, they work together a ton, even with Chuva, so I kind of see them similarly. But do you guys have any thoughts on if he goes above or below Felix?
I would place him below, but like with Kads or Kyous, I would not be surprised at all if the results end up the other way. I think Felix has a very little edge because he is more courageous with his metagame takes. And if he's right, which he often is, then he's going to have just a tiny bit of an edge in the builder compared to Serpi. But they're both. It's very hard to find issues in the way they play with both of them. So they're both high tier 1.
For sure.
He's very good at picking his team from game 1 to game 2 to game 3. So yeah, it can definitely pull comeback as well. So yeah.
We'll put him at 3rd for now. But again, Serpi could very easily be ranked 1, like I've said it 8 bajillion times. Most stacked pull ever. But yeah, Serpi's just crazy. Next up, we have the Team Raiders with Amaranth himself. Also with Kenix, who could very reasonably see playtime in RBY, depending if they have somebody else to play GSC. And then they also have McMegan. Amaranth has been playing, has played in a ton of SPLs at this point. Let's see, let me pull it up. Started all the way back in SPL 9 with the stacked pool, 5-5, 5-5 in SPL 10. Popped off in SPL 11 with 7-4. But struggled his last time about SPL 13, and then managed in SPL 12 and 14. Invitational winner, been around forever. Troller's protege. I rate Amaranth's ability to both play RBY and prepare very, very highly. Obviously, I'm very biased, but I've learned so much from him. But over these last 2 years, especially teaming with him last year. But I'm a big fan. But what do you guys think about Team Raiders?
Very interesting team to me. I think the core Amaranth, Kenix, and even McMegan's support is gonna is gonna make for something very wild. Like they could build anyone from strategies alone because they are down to push the boundaries of like I don't know lead chancy because you have a backup plan because slipses are fine anywhere relative to your strategy. They are gonna be very interesting to watch and it's a matter of motivation for Amaranth. I think like if he's motivated, and I think in SPL setting he's gonna be motivated. He's gonna do well and take some wins no one expected to. Pretty much.
Yeah,
Like he pioneered so many things, so many new strategies, especially the lead chancy one. Like everyone thought back then it was stupid, like chancy was too important to be in the bag, but in fact chancy is not that important after 10 turns, depending on what you have, what the matchup is, and how you manage your pieces. So I'm very excited to see what they are up to. It's just a motivation and preparation work, I think.
Yeah, no, this is a solid core. I think the only knock is Amaranth's last SPL showing wasn't the best, and it was against an arguably harder pool. So just getting back into the shape of SPL might take a little bit, but he's shown he's been consistent before in SPL, and he definitely has the experience, the plays, the knowledge more than anything. And like even in his first SPL, he brought Vic back pretty much, and if he can do that again and just stay on top of the metagame, there's no question that he could easily have a great tour again. But it's just the question mark with his last record and getting just back up to pace with the top players that are here in this pool. And he does have great support in Kenix, who could start as well, and McMegan, who will probably drop in and tell him to use Aerodactyl or some shit, but could also maybe help out. But yeah, no, it's a solid core. I think in any other SPL, this would be a mid-ranked near the top, or like a top of the mid-ranked core, but just due to how solid this pool is, it's hard to put him above players like Chuva, Nail, Serpi, and those guys. So yeah, I think it's just strength of the pool is so strong. It's not necessarily a bad core. It's just hard to put it above a lot of the others.
Yeah, he only went for 3K, which is crazy.
Yeah,
but
that's
how it is.
I will say when you say that I like things like Victory Bell in SPL 9 or Sing Chancy Lead or I think even Gengar 2021 2022 I used a lot of Gengar. I think I helped with those usages. I think those were all innovations that came at a time where there was a big hole in the metagame.
Mm-hmm.
And when there is a big hole in the metagame, something that is good and nobody's doing, I am pretty good at finding that. But I would say overall my fundamentals, especially over the years as I've lost a bit of practice, as I'm not as active as I used to be when I was breaking out, I think it's definitely fair to rank me below most of these players or even all of these players because my success has usually been conditioned on a lot of practice and some kind of big part of the meta that I can exploit. And it's not a given that those things will be here. So I definitely have no issues with low rankings here.
Yeah, finally free though. Oh, go ahead.
I agree that the hole in the builder is not as big as it once used to be. My view on this is that the moment we start dropped Egi, we opened so many weaknesses, and if I look at this pool of players, I feel like a lot of them are gonna use solid teams, not only Egi team, but team with very little ult, very little to exploit. Like, yeah, this Gengar that Wolf Snorlax for eternity are not gonna be as present, I think, especially in a setting like this when you really want to be fine versus everything. So we will see, but sometimes just getting the edge from the lead matchups goes such a long way in RBY, and I think you're down to do that more more than many other that let's just see what happened and I will adapt from there. But sometimes you don't even have a chance to adapt. So and I think the mentality between you, Kenix, and even Mac Megan, like you guys get this all three. It's a very similar way to, at least to me, it's a very similar way to think the game. But there's a lot of synergy here, I think.
Yeah, I will say I worked with Kenix in ROPL, Runes of Wolf Premier League.
Yeah.
I bought him and he went 8 wins, 0 losses, so that's pretty good. Obviously, it's a weaker competition, but we work well together. Definitely, we already know.
Yeah, he is
I'm
also
excited to see this team for sure. It's gonna be great for the RBY as a whole, and results. Shit results aren't everything. It's about what you do and what doesn't win. So we will see.
also freed from the shackles of being head TD and having to run RBY.
Cool.
So maybe that will help. Where are we putting the Raiders?
I think that's tier 3, not because they are bad, but because the pool is so good. I will put tier 3 myself too for different reason, but yeah, I think that's tier 3 because risk, maybe. Like if you take some risk, it can go left, and as you said, you don't practice as much recently, so we will see.
Yeah, I think it's understandable. I think I am probably still a little bit above Green on Fire, but I don't know. I've never played him, so it's kind of whatever. Above or below, nobody can say.
Experience alone, you can be.
We'll put you
with
above.
experience alone, you can be above him. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, sure. Yes.
9th ranked Amaranth is also just like again crazy. But that's SPL for you. Lastly, we have the Wi-Fi Wolfpack, ABR, Shiloh, and Star. ABR, I'm sure, needs no introduction. Greatest Smogon player of all time. I invited him to play RBY Invitational this year, and he said yes, but I wasn't expecting him to. Finished top 8, and then I guess got just really invested in RBY, because he went out to win RBY Cup and RBY Circuit, beating Serpi in the finals of both, notably. But he's ABR, like, he's the best, and then when he put, like, some effort into RBY, he won Cup and Circuit, and now he's going to be putting in even more effort on the SPL level. Also, I was like Shiloh, of course, if ABR needs to go save the day in ADV or something. Like, Shiloh's a former SPL player, did well in the past, and then they also have Star to help out, who's an invitational level player. I'm extremely excited for this slot, personally. Like, ABR went for fucking 39k and is playing RBY. But what are you guys' thoughts on the Wolfpack?
Well, ABR, my first experience in SPL, ABR was in my team, and it was the most disgusting performance from a single player that I have ever seen. Not even just in terms of results, but he was basically prepping 8 or 9 slots every week by himself, basically. It was completely disgusting. Obviously, his motivation is a bit lower now. It's not quite going to be the same. But when he sets his mind to a tier, like whatever that tier is, you have to be afraid of him, because he has proven that he has insane, incredible work ethic and insane ability to just learn whatever it is that he wants to learn. Obviously, he's had seasons in GSC, he's had seasons in SM, he's had seasons in every tier possible. And he's just always good. So I mean, especially after seeing that he crushed. Basically, he played 2 tournaments. I mean, he has the invitational, but let's give him some time to warm up. And after that, he won Cup and he won Circuit, and those were the only tournaments he joined. He basically didn't lose a single game of RBY after invitational. So, I mean. Yeah, it's hard to say because in fairness, it's in RBY Cup, you don't always have the most consistent opponents. He was in final against Chubb and who was it?
Serpi.
Serpi, okay, yes. So yeah, he beat Chubb and Serpi, and then he beat again Green on Fire and Serpi in circuit finals. So obviously his ability is up there, but he hasn't had one of those really tough tournaments like SPL or Invitational. He hasn't yet swept one of those. So maybe there is some ceiling to his ability in RBY, but he's ABR. Maybe there is no ceiling. Maybe he's 40k worth. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you can't, as you said, like you prepare so much for the team. It's not about 39k RBY. It's about who ABR he is and what he is as a player, and obviously he's one of the best player of the entire website. So here's that. And when you're good at Mon, you can play RBY for sure. That's not even a question. The question is. When does he's gonna run out of tricks, get that builder edge, get that strategical edge? That it's so hard to play BRR right now because we don't really know what he's up to, what he's like to do, and that plays a lot in his favor, and I agree with that. But SPL is just so high for him. It's just so important for him. It's really hard to against him. It's really about can the other player figure out what he's up to, because it doesn't really take much risk or willing to do. Like he let the games flows, and because you have these advantages, it works in his favor. I think that's his massive advantages here. It's probably a tier 1 player still because he puts the work and he can play mons. So.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, the last time he played in SPL, he was like really into ADV. He won Kyous Invitational, won Classic, and then went 9-1 in ADV 2 years ago. This year he's been all in on RBY, obviously, as we've mentioned. And at least to me, like, he obviously has a skill of playing Pokemon, and now he's gonna be putting in like full time 100% effort on the biggest of RBY stages. So I think he's going to do extremely well. Like, I would personally rank ABR2 above the Germans, but I could also see him very fairly being 4. But I think to me, like, this is a very easy tier 1. And even if ABR is needed to play another tier later down the line, like, Roses has played SPL before and would do like a good job filling in as well. So it's not even like they fall off the face of the earth if ABR has to swap if needed.
Yeah, I would place him just above Serpi personally, because we have seen him beat Serpi in Cup and we've seen him beat Serpi in Circuit, and we don't know much else. But we have two instances where he was barely better than Serpi. So I would place him there. But maybe he's even higher. We don't know.
I think Serpi is better as an RBY, but yeah, he kind of plays himself against RBR, at least in the circuit final. Like I don't know, it's maybe the ABR or something, but I feel like it was so much better whether versus me than versus ABR. I don't know. I feel like he played into ABR's plan, let the game flow, see what happened, and yeah, ABR just had a better not a better matchup, but his strategy was very good into Serpi. I think I think he let lead Chansey and lead Jolteon. Yes, Serpi is a bit less familiar with those, and that's probably why he won.
Yeah, he also like approaches it like he's not primary in RBY, so he approaches the tier differently. Like I've seen him use stuff like Jinx Egg, Gengar, along with the 3 normals, just because like it makes sense to him, even though that's not really something like not a team you see a lot of like typical RBYers load. So he sees the tier like a lot differently. But like I'm extremely excited to watch like ABR play RBY at SPL.
That's
like
exactly
it's
the point.
Christmas.
He does things RBY men don't understand fully, and that's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's tier 1 for sure. Like that would be disrespectful to put in tier 2. We will see in time how it goes for him.
Yeah, anything you have, Shiloh, on your team, obviously. Roses.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. No, everything you guys have said is pretty much true. I am kind of hoping that I don't have to play as much because I haven't kept up with RBY as much as I have this past year. But if I have to go in, it would obviously be a very exciting pool to play against, and they'd have some great support. So, yeah, I think we're a very strong combination, and just the flexibility and ABR just being so dominant this past year will hopefully lead to some wins here.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. All right, so definitely in tier 1, where are we putting him? 2, 3, or 4? Gang.
I would put him 4 because Serpi plays so much. I don't know. I feel even if Abura won the 2 direct confrontation between against Serpi, I feel like Serpi just proved more in RBY, although not in the game in general.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if you look at it from an RBY perspective, probably Serpi just has more history and obviously more results in the tier, so makes sense to put him 4. I think I would be surprised if ABR goes less than 6 wins, even in this pool. And Oof. that's something that you cannot say for many people. Like if Serpi goes 5-4, I can understand it. If ABR goes 5-4, I would be surprised. Because ABR just plays, I don't know, I've never seen ABR play a game and I'm like, I don't know, he misplayed this, like he didn't understand how to play this game strategically, I don't know. To me ABR will just not make very many mistakes. But it's true he has less history in the tier, so I understand your point of view as well.
I feel like if it doesn't go well for him in RBY, he's gonna move around anyway. So yeah,
true.
Either perform in RBY or you just move around, and Shiloh will have to play.
I think we could split the difference and put him in between the Germans. But like obviously, like Serpi being 4 after the year he's had in SPL is just like so silly. But like ABR Felix also being 4 would all be equally absurd. But we can put our final rankings as 1 Tyrants Troller, 2 Scooters Felix, 3 Wolfpack ABR, 4 Shark Serpi, 5 Kyros Juva, 6 Bigs Nails, 7 Classiest Kaz, 8 Runers Kyous, 9 Raiders Amaranth, and then 10 Tigers Green on Fire. But there's just an absurd pool, as we've been saying the entire time. Like Serpi being ranked 4 feels so disrespectful. But like I guess just how it is. Like all 4 of those guys are just absurdly good, and then even like Kaz being ranked 7th is fucking absurd as well. But I'm incredibly excited for SPL.
I would have ranked myself in tier 3 to tell you. Like 8 in tier 3.
But like I'm so excited for SPL. Like SPL is my favorite part of Smogon, definitely. So I'm really excited. Thank you guys for joining me. Like I obviously really enjoy talking SPL and RBY with you. Anything you guys want to end on?
Very excited for this season. For sure. It's gonna be great. No bad game, no only hype matchups. It's gonna be great.
$2,000 prize pool. And yeah.
Yeah. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, $2,000 prize pool is also crazy. But we'll see you all next time. Thanks for joining in.
Cheers.
See ya.